Hi, all my food service friends out there. This is Jason Wange in Denver, Colorado with your Powerplant Positivity Tip number 7. Acknowledge what is. This was inspired by an open letter I saw the other day. One of our customers put out a letter to the entire food service industry, and it was a moment of incredible vulnerability, and they were just brutally honest about the situation at hand. It started with the words, "This sucks. Every last part sucks." And of course, they're right. It does suck. And I watched as people felt incredibly connected to them through this and thought I'd put together some reasons why just acknowledging what is, being honest about where you're at, is so powerful. First reason is that it creates trust. It creates trust in others. First, you've got family, you've got friends, you've got peers and colleagues around you, and everyone now more than ever will be relying on one another. And it's important that the people around you know, number one, in the situation we're all in, that you're not lying to them. That certainly creates trust. Or secondly, people around you want to know that you actually recognize what's going on, more of a competency factor. They want to know that the people that they love or the people that they're following or that they're working alongside with are competent to get through the situation. The second place it creates trust, which is even more important, is it creates trust in you. The reason for all these videos is to create some sense of empowerment, to help you recognize that you have what it takes. You've got the power, the strength to get through this. And the most foundational layer of any of that is realizing that you can trust yourself. If you don't feel like you can trust yourself, it's going to be hard to get far. And so you want to be able to create trust within you to know that you can take the next steps to get to where you need to be. Here's the second piece of power and acknowledgement in recognizing what is. It's easier to make progress when you're willing to acknowledge where you are. You know, we're all trying to get somewhere new. Whether life is great, when life is great, we're trying to figure out how to make it even better. If life is challenging, we're trying to figure out what things we need to change in order to make it better. And it's so much harder to get from where you are to where you want to be when you're not willing to acknowledge really where you are. You know, the other day, my daughter and I, we were making chocolate chip cookies. And the goal, the end destination of this whole recipe and all the steps we took was to get cookies out of it. If I'm not willing to acknowledge what step I'm in the process, then I don't know what's next. If I'm not willing to acknowledge if I put in the vanilla or the baking soda or the eggs, then the chances are way less likely that I'm going to end up with a cookie at the end of the whole process than if I acknowledge just what step I'm on in the entire cookie making process. By the way, I absolutely destroyed the cookies. They were incredible. Now, acknowledging what is and progressing and being able to make that progress is another reason why organizations like Alcoholics Anonymous are so successful. They start with the words, "Hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic." They're willing to be brutally honest about the situation they're in. Third, acknowledging where you're at, just being real and vulnerable as this customer was the other day, it creates intimate connection and community. As I watched the people post in response to that, it was like guards had been brought down. It was walls had been brought down that created barriers of separation. Automatically, you're dropping those walls. You become relatable to others, which then allows further situations in the future where you can be honest about what's going on with one another. And chances are, when you're honest with one another about what's going on, you're able to make those steps collectively and together to get to where you both want to be. You know, we are in food service. We're relationship people. We're connection-driven people. So the power of relationship, both collectively and in us, I mean, one of the truths is that when the more positive relationships you have, friendships, etc., the healthier you are, not just emotionally and mentally, but actually physically. As they've studied people that are connected relationally in safe, trusted relationships, they're healthier as just people physically. Now, here's another thing I want you to think of in terms of relationships. Relationships are built through surviving a risk with another person. Okay? Think about the strongest relationships in your personal life, in your work. Chances are they're the relationships that you have survived multiple risks with, whether it was the risk of being vulnerable or the risk of trying something new or sacrificing something together. Relationships are built through surviving risk. And now will be an opportunity where many of us will be surviving levels of risk together. Granted, not risk we necessarily chose, but the people around you right now, I want you to think about, who will I be surviving these risks with to end up on the other side in a better place? Now, lastly, the power in acknowledging what is that it's being in what is actually easier than avoiding it. You know, many of us, when there's a challenging situation or emotion, we find ourselves trying to keep it at arm's length. We actually try to like outrun it and keep it a few steps behind us. But oftentimes there's a phrase I've heard, that which we resist persists. And I found it true in my own life. The things that I'm avoiding, that I'm trying to stay away from, they actually stay with me longer than just taking an experience and sitting in it for a few minutes. Just sitting on the couch or in a chair or wherever it is and just experience it. Chances are it'll be a little bit lighter when you're willing to do that. Now, one of the ideas that has worked for me is anytime I'm in an uncomfortable situation or I'm experiencing an uncomfortable emotion, is I put an image to it. In this situation, what we're all going through is no different. An image I like to use is of a cloud. Think about a cloud in the sky. A cloud comes through the sky, at least here in Colorado. They usually start in the west and they move east. And then I might find it over me for a period of time and then it goes. The same is true of this situation. When I'm willing to just acknowledge it and be in it, when I'm willing to be under that cloud for just a little bit, I'm recognizing that it's going to pass. Every cloud continues to move through the sky. And this is no different. It will continue to move, and it's just a moment. So don't be afraid to just sit in it and experience it for a few minutes. Hey, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me. Remember, you've got this. We've got this together. Together, we're all going to get through it and end up in a better spot. I wish you the best. See you tomorrow.